Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stanley Williams, and the video that I'm going to do today revolves around the topic of doubt. Now, this video has no visual accompaniment with it because I want you to really listen and be fully engaged in what I'm going to tell you today. So I'm going to dive right in. In our urgency to try and save our children from our own problems, we impart upon them the one thing that can really hinder them from doing anything, which coincidentally may also be the one thing that has hindered us from doing most of the things that we want to do. And that thing is doubt. How many of us are products of the thought process that you have to do what you have to do in order to do what you want to do? That thought process alone is the single biggest hindrance to any real progress, because we inevitably divert our lives doing what we have to do. And by the time we are in a position to do what we want to do, we are either conditioned to play it safe or too set in our ways to try anything new. Or we simply develop habits of self-worth depreciation, which become deep-rooted issues within our own self-esteem. These issues become things such as the feeling of we don't deserve it or we can't achieve it. An urban example of how we instill doubt would be that of whipping our children. As a product of a black household, I understand that the concept of whipping our children so that the police don't kill them is a necessity. We battle with the idea that it has to be our children's lives, making sure they act accordingly in order to live long lives, as opposed to allowing them to break some rules, which can inevitably lead to their deaths in a myriad of different ways, from gang violence to police brutality. Unfortunately, similar to all other slave mentality derived practices, this concept was created out of necessity. And it's one of the major driving factors hindering most of us from achieving our true success. When you teach a lesson and reinforce that lesson through pain, it becomes embedded, ingratiated, imbued into the minds of your children. So now you not only understand the lesson, but your child relives that lesson mentally and physically through muscle memory every time that they make a mistake, or worse, any decision that resembles that mistake. So let's look at it from a broader perspective. Why would slave masters be so willing and adamant about beating their slaves, but not their own children? They understand or understood the psychological concepts that prevent any form of testing the rules or going to the edge of anyone's comfort zone. Because if you tie in a lesson through pain, you psychologically and physically link and associate the two together, the lesson as well as the pain. And pain is one of our greatest teachers. For instance, if your child tries to create something out of, products found in the household, and then they subsequently get a whooping for using those products because they may have been, necessary to the household, it teaches them not to create things, because creating things has now been physically, mentally, and psychologically associated with pain. This is how the idea of risk-taking becomes limited. We reinforce doubt and fear into the minds of our children, and as a result, they become fearful of taking risk until they either come to terms with these psychological issues or learn from a different source that risk-taking is the only way to grow. Now, this example is specific to children, but it also affects our daily lives, from the way we interact with our colleagues to the way we interact with our superiors, our bosses, our friends. Doubt is a weed, and it kills another plant not by stepping on it, not by eating it, but by creeping in from the root and stealing the nutrients from entering into the other plants. Essentially, doubt can come from any source, a parent, a friend, a colleague, associate, but the most powerful form of doubt, as previously discussed, is developed as a result of the teachings of our parents. When we are born, we deify our parents because they brought us into this world and they taught us the necessities to function and essentially live. So we try to learn from their experience, their wisdom, which is a good thing. But let's look at it from a more subtle example perspective. How can something as simple as a lack of faith in your child result in subsequent doubt, fear, and an unwillingness to break out of their comfort zone? Here's an example. If your child brings forth an idea to you and you tell that child that the idea is unrealistic or that they're too young to accomplish that type of goal or something along those lines, for any number of reasons, you essentially teach that child that subtly and psychologically, you don't believe that they can do it. And the thing with this is, you don't even have to say or verbalize that you don't believe they can do it. Your actions, your own psychological fears of them failing, they get projected onto the child and they inevitably either fail, which results in more doubt, or worse, they never try. It's our jobs as parents, as people, to teach our children or any child we come into contact with that the true goal of any endeavor is not just to succeed, but to fail also. And what I mean is, success is temporary. It is a fleeting high moment that only lasts for a short while until you set another goal and you have to work to achieve it again. But failure is a different entity entirely. Failure is the journey. It's that opposition that builds us into the people with whom we want to be. The lessons learned from failure last a lifetime, and the growth learned from failure can never be taken away from you. Success is one moment, it's momentary. But failure and the ability to go forth from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm should be the true goal. Because this is what allows us to go forth in the world with as much opposition as there is and succeed. When you can learn to fail without doubting yourself, when you can learn to fail without being afraid to try again, this is how you succeed in life. So, understanding that doubt is just as powerful as fear or anxiety or a number of things is important, because fear is something that you see it coming. It's a fight or flight mechanism. But doubt is subtle. Doubt is psychological. Doubt creeps in the most minute ways. And because of it, it is just as dangerous, if not more, than anything else we've talked about. Fear, anxiety, anything else. So, that's my lesson for you guys today. I hope you got something from it. And I hope you go forth to give that whatever you got from it today to someone else. Thank you for your time. See you later.